not gonna waste any of your time. Yes, this movie is bad. Very bad. Really bad. So bad that Michael Jackson and Wesley Snipes would say it's bad. So bad that you start to think someone purposely made a movie this bad. I'm a huge fan of Spider-Man, if you couldn't tell from what I'm wearing. I love all things Spider-Man. Comics, video games, shoot. I even love the MTV Spider-Man TV show. I don't only just love Spider-Man, I love his lore and his extended universe. I love all things that have to do with Spider-People. I remember someone told me to never read the Clone Saga because it was so bad. They were right, by the way, but I didn't care because I just wanted to consume all things Spider-Man. Needless to say, I really love Spider-Man, which is why, with a heavy heart, I come to you frustrated, disappointed, and embittered that this movie exists in the same universe as me. I know that there is a universe where I exist and this movie doesn't exist. I would much rather prefer to be in that universe than this current universe that we are in right now. But sadly, I am in this universe where me and this movie have to occupy the same existence. This is not a review of Madam Web. This is a lashing session. Because this movie doesn't deserve to get reviewed. It needs its lashes. I'm going to be giving this movie the lashes that it deserves. But quick disclaimer, if you're coming here thinking I'm gonna say this movie was bad because of feminism or it was too woke, this is the wrong channel. This movie being bad has nothing to do with any of that. This movie is terrible because of one thing and one thing only: Sony. This movie is an affront to the character of Madam Web. This movie is an affront to Stan Lee. This movie is an affront to the fans. And this movie is an affront to the one above all. Sony, you will be answering for your crimes for allowing this malarkey to be projected in theater. I got too hot. Let me take the jacket off. Hold on. But let's start from the beginning. I fully went into this movie hearing everyone saying it was a 2-pack of ass. But I still had high hopes because I'm a free thinker. I'm not going to let other people decide for me whether a movie is good or bad. I just had to see with my own 2 eyes if this movie was good. And sadly, I don't really regret my decision, despite it being horrendous. So the movie opens up with Constance Webb in the Peruvian jungle while she's in her 3rd trimester of pregnancy. She's in the jungle while pregnant because she's trying to find a cure for her daughter's myasthenia gravis, which is a neuromuscular disorder. But I feel like putting your unborn daughter in harm's way doesn't really help her current situation. But okay, fine. So she's looking for this spider that's supposed to cure her daughter of her illness. She's accompanied by this dude named Ezekiel. And the reason why I'm saying this dude named Ezekiel, because Ezekiel's supposed to be the main villain of the story, but he doesn't really have much motivation to be a villain besides he didn't grow up with a lot. Mojo Jojo has more motivation than this man. Shoot, Gargamel has more villainous motivation than this man Ezekiel right here. It's like the writers of this movie forgot one crucial thing that every supervillain needs: a villain backstory. It didn't even have to be that complicated. It's not like Thanos' backstory is all that complicated. After Constance finds the spider that she's been looking for, Ezekiel shoots her in the chest and runs off with the spider. But Las Arañas, which is a secret society of spider people, yes, there is a secret society of spider people in this movie. Just roll with it. They take her back to their cave where Constance gives birth to Cassandra and she's baptized in these spider fluids that give her her powers. Okay, but Constance dies in the process, which leaves Cassandra orphaned. So great, she's like almost every other superhero. At least they didn't forget to make the superhero an orphan. We fast forward 30 years and we are in the year 2003. I feel like the producers were kind of banking on 2000s nostalgia since they have references to Britney Spears and Beyonce, but no amount of 2000s nostalgia can save this train wreck. In some ways, I feel like it's very disrespectful to drag both of these women into this god-awful movie. I'm sorry that I keep going on these tangents. It's just that I feel like it's the only way I'm going to stay sane throughout this whole video. We are reintroduced to Cassandra Webb, who goes by Cassie now, and her partner, Ben Parker. Yes, that Ben Parker. I feel so bad for Adam Scott, man. He's too much of a good actor to be in this basura that they call a movie. Later, Cassandra and Ben get a call that a car has flipped over on the bridge. They go and save the guy, but the way they edit it it looks like Cassie just teleports into the passenger seat. It's a very weird scene when you see it in the movie. It's even more funny if you saw it twice, like me, sadly. This is when we get our first look into her powers, and we see a glimpse of her looking into the future. So we fast forward a little bit, and Ezekiel is trying to seduce this woman who works for the NSA to try to get her security access code. Yes, that's exactly how that scene went in the movie. I'm not even trying to be funny. He threatens her, and she ends up giving him the code. But he decides to send her to the gulag anyway, because how else are they supposed to show that this man is evil? The reason why he needs access to NSA technology is because he needs to track down these 3 spider women he keeps seeing in these dreams. He keeps seeing them in these dreams because he's cursed. Why is he cursed? You could assume it's because he took the spider away from its natural habitat, but they never directly tell you that in the movie. We never get a direct answer to this in the movie, by the way. It's just left ambiguous. Side note, we only get to see these girls in costume in these visions. Besides the ending of this movie, we never get to see these costumes ever again. But by the way they cut promotional material for this movie, it looks like they're gonna be in these suits for half of it. No! They're liars and deceivers! They are not in these costumes whatsoever. Which is why I feel like there's another movie buried somewhere here that we're never going to see. Because I looked up online how much is the average superhero costume, and I was not able to find any concrete figures. But I got figures on the low end saying it costs $80,000 to make a superhero costume. And I went and saw this train wreck a second time to see how much screen time do they actually give these costumes. And I came up with 1 minute and 23 seconds of these girls actually being in costume. So it cost them around $320,000 for 1 minute and 23 seconds of content. Caleb Hammer would go crazy if he saw the budget for this movie. So Ezekiel has spent the past 30 years hunting down these girls that he keeps seeing in these visions. So to get these girls, he steals NSA equipment for their facial recognition software. Because, you know, the whole Patriot Act and everything. The thing is, how do you steal from the NSA? They're the NSA. They can see you coming from a mile away. Even Edward Snowden had to do some tiptoeing around the system to leak the information that he ended up leaking. It doesn't matter that you have magical spider powers. It's the fucking NSA. But alright, maybe that's too much of a nitpick. I'll leave it alone. So he uses facial recognition software from 2003 to finally locate these 3 teenage girls, and finds them all at the train station. If the NSA had access to this technology in 2003, why did it take them so long to find Bin Laden? Cassie is also on the train and starts having visions on the train. One of her visions is Ezekiel choking out these 3 girls, so she rushes them out of the train before he could get them. The girls think that Cassie is trying to kidnap them, which is reasonable because this random woman is just telling you to get off this train. But in a very weird scene, she tells these girls to turn around, and it's Ezekiel in a Spider-Man costume. I have no idea how he was able to change into a Spider-Man costume that fast, because we literally just saw him on the train in civilian clothing. They end up getting away by stealing a taxi cab, but Cassie is all over the news for kidnapping because Julia screamed out loud in the subway that she was kidnapping them. Oh, I forgot to tell you. The 3 girls' names are Julia, Anya, and Maddie. They're all essentially orphans because their parents don't love them. They all have to keep a low profile because everyone is on the lookout for these 3 girls and a woman who looks like she's in her 30s. In real life, if these 3 girls got kidnapped in broad daylight, they're calling the FBI, CIA, DEA, SPD, and the Department of Homeland Security to find these girls. The girls hide out in a forest and Cassie tells them to stay put, but they ignore her because they're teenagers. Of course they ignore her. So they end up going to a diner where they get recognized by this guy who saw them in the newspaper. His call to the police is intercepted by Ezekiel's henchwoman, and she tells him where the girls are. Cassie starts having visions, and in these visions, it shows Ezekiel choke slamming these girls like he's the Undertaker. So she drives into the diner, running over Ezekiel in front of a bunch of people. So much for a low profile, right? Let's fast forward a little bit. Cassie gets a vision that makes her realize that she has to go to Peru. So in the middle of the movie, Cassie leaves these 3 teenage girls that are in danger and that she keeps having visions of them getting chokeslammed with Ben. I swear that it has to be Ben Parker's canon event that he has to take care of other people's kids. So she lands in Peru. I have no idea how she was able to get through airport security despite being on the run, but I guess they just dropped that whole plot point because it's too inconvenient to the current story that they want to tell. In Peru, she meets up with the guy from the Spider Society that helped birth her, and they go into the cave that she was born in, and she starts to have visions of her mother. The visions help her realize why her mother did what she did, and she ends up forgiving her. And now she has full control of her powers. I don't know, I feel like they really just started making shit up towards the end of this movie. Back in America, May Parker, who is played by Emma Roberts, has her water break, so they have to rush to the hospital. A security camera gets a close-up on Maddie's face, and that's enough for Ezekiel to get her location. Cassie comes back and realizes that they went to the hospital because she saw Mary's fluids on the floor. I'm telling you, they had to make this movie this bad on purpose because ain't no fucking way. She has a vision that everyone is in trouble, so she leaves the cab that she stole and steals the ambulance that just pulled up to the house. Cassie meets back up with Ben and the girls, and she ends up saving them from Ezekiel. So Cassie and the girls end up leading Ezekiel to an abandoned explosives warehouse. They essentially plan on lighting up the explosives in there and blowing him up. What could possibly go wrong? Everything went wrong. Cassie and the girls plan on escaping through the roof where there is a helicopter waiting for them. Cassie uses her powers to see the future to make sure the girls dodge the explosives that are coming after them. But one of the explosives hits the helicopter that was trying to save them. If that wasn't enough, Ezekiel is still alive somehow. The next sequence of events, I don't really know how to properly describe. And this is coming from someone who saw this movie twice. And I still don't know what happened. So Cassie uses her powers to make shadow clones of herself to save Julia, Anya, and Maddie. This was not a previously established power in the movie. I told you, they are starting to make shit up towards the end. I thought her powers were seeing into the future, or seeing into potential futures. No, apparently she can make clones of herself that edit the timeline. Ezekiel knocks her back, but she leads him down a part of the roof where a bridge is collapsing, and he falls, and the letters on a Pepsi sign fall right on top of him. I'm not sure if this killed him, but I can assume it did. But who knows? Anything could happen in this movie, apparently. Cassie falls into the water like in the beginning of this movie, but this time Julia, Anya, and Maddie save her and perform CPR on her, and they bring her back to life. In the hospital, we get to see baby Peter Parker and Cassie, who is now blind and a paraplegic. I'm not saying her mom died for nothing, but she ended up becoming what her mother tried to cure her from. I'm just wondering, why didn't they just make the character blind and paraplegic from the beginning? And the movie ends with a flash forward of all the girls in their costumes fighting crime. Alright, so this movie obviously has a lot of problems. I didn't even get to talk about how Dakota Johnson was tricked into doing this movie because she thought it was an actual MCU movie and not a Sony Marvel movie, or the bad ADR for Ezekiel throughout the whole movie. But despite all of that and everything I've said in this video so far, I still think you should see it. For the mere fact that this movie is an experience of a lifetime that you can only get in theaters. You will regret not seeing this with a group of friends and just laughing together on how bad this movie really is. I don't think they could ever make a movie this bad consciously ever again. If you want a good laugh with your friends, this movie is it. On the small chance that this movie gets a sequel, I just want to see how much worse could it possibly get. Because we didn't think Sony could make a worse movie than Morbius. But of course, they just had to prove us wrong. But tell me how you felt about this movie in the comment section below. Again, you should not judge this movie based off my review. You should watch it and judge it for yourself. Please, go watch this with a group of people and judge it for yourself. I guarantee you, you'll get so much enjoyment out of it. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell while you're at it, and I'll see you in the next video.